Hi YouTube, Suki here with some more thoughts for you. Today we're going to react to a video from Breaking Points again. This one is involves Jeffrey Sachs. We are in a world war. Essentially, this is the a culmination or a compilation of every reason why supposedly the United States and Israel are losing the current war in Iran. Now, I just wanna give you a representative video for this so that you can listen to their arguments if you want to. But then I'll go ahead and debunk them one by one. So their first argument is that there can be no revolt of Iran on Iran, because the moment you start hitting the civilian areas, which is Tehran and everything, with drone and missile strikes, they just get more united. Now, and of course the the way that they show that the people are united is by showing you the massive outpourings of mourning for Khomeini, and of loyalty to his son. Now, the first thing I have to bring up, the most obvious one, is that those rallies are of course encouraged by the regime or Iran, if you don't want to use regime. If the other side were to rally, they'd all get shot down, especially now that you're in the middle of a war. So there's a reason why you don't see why you don't see a revolt right away. Now, another thing is, this is the ethnic map of Iran. The cities that they've been showing you, like Tehran, Qom, and Isfahan, they are in the Persian area of Iran. So this is where most of the support of Iran gets from. And this is the cities that you've seen in the videos where they have massive outpourings and stuff like that. That's not where the revolution is gonna start. If anything, the revolution is gonna start from the Azerbaijan area, or the Baluchistan area, or the Kurd area, and then they'll get supported by either Azerbaijan, elements of the Kurds in Turkey or Iraq, or Pakistan supported by the Baluch. So it's gonna start in the peripheries where they've been mistreated for so long, that that they revolt. Now, aside from being mistreated, they're also very far from the populated areas in the middle, which means that it will take a long time for armies to get towards us, to get to them. And in addition to that, any once the revolt starts in those areas and army units have to get rushed in, any concentration of army units will be immediately visible on the air, which means U.S. and Israel can just kill them. You may remember that in the Russian war with Ukraine, there was a time that they were driving a lot of vehicles, I think like 3 kilometers long, towards Kiev, and they all get shot down from the air or from drones or from mortars and stuff, because they knew they were coming. So that's what's gonna happen when Iran tries to suppress these rebellions. So again, it's not gonna happen from the center first. It's gonna happen from the sides. Then once the pressure from the sides builds up, that's when you see the center rise up as well. Because there's too many troops in the center right now. Once the sides rebel, they're gonna draw out the troops, and then the center will revolt as well. Now, of course, that also carries the risk that since the side regions have their own particular ethnicities, they might not want to join whatever remains of Iran. So, for example, the Kurds, they already wanted to form their own country. So, if they rebel, they may just be given the chance to just keep whatever they hold. Same with the Azeris, they might want to join Azerbaijan. Same with the Baluch, they might want to join Baluchistan in Pakistan. So there's a lot of different scenarios that may happen that will lead to a smaller Iran, but that's essentially how it's gonna go. Second, they say that Iran can indefinitely fire rockets and all that stuff, or drones, into the Red Sea, into the Gulf Strait of Hormuz to keep it bottled up. So have you ever really considered how this would work? So obviously everything is mountainous in these areas over here, which is why they say it's a perfect place to hide from, and that's true. But have you ever considered the logistics of it? So first off, the entire country does not have internet right now. So there's no banking, there's no transactions, nothing, and that's fine. It's only been 10 days, right? But let's say you have to go be a guerrilla, essentially what this is, for an extended period of time. How are you gonna get paid? As you can imagine, the a lot of the leading figures have already been killed, and then each as their decentralized command says, each unit commander takes care of each each area, each province. Do these unit commanders have money? How are they gonna get money to the people? Now to their soldiers, because the soldiers still need to eat. The soldiers still need to buy necessities or stuff like that. You know, they still need to get supplied. Now, I'm aware that the IRGC has a lot of money. If, in fact, the new leader of Iran was able to buy a lot of properties in England, which I think they should seize. But how are you physically gonna get that money from the bank accounts to the people? Remember, you have no internet, so that means no banking, no online banking. So the people, the soldiers, your guerrillas, will have to physically go to the bank tellers and withdraw the money from them. Or failing that, obviously they're in a combat area. You'd have to get the money to them. How are you going to get the money to them? Remember, the uh, the amount of the exchange rate right now is 1.5 million or 1.6 million real to the dollar. So you're essentially gonna be bringing wheelbarrows of cash for each individual fighter. So that's just for the necessities, like for example, or that's just for the luxuries, like maybe they want to buy a cigarette, maybe they want to buy some extra food, or something like that. Now, what happens if these troops don't get paid? Sometimes some of you might say these troops are motivated by their holy mission, so they don't need to get paid. That's perfectly fine. But they still need to eat, and they still have other stuff that they might want. So you need to pay them for that. And even the most hardened communists in Spain in the Spanish Revolution actually went over to the nationalist side because they weren't getting paid. So people still work for money, no matter how fervent you are. In fact, I'd say even the imams and stuff, they still drop pay from their mosques. So in that case, you're not paying your troops because you have no way to get money to them. What are they gonna do? They're going to have to start raiding peasants for money. Now, normally, if you have an occupying power like the U.S., you could raid them. You know, kill some soldiers, get some rations and whatever. But the U.S. Army is not gonna go anywhere near here. The guerrilla warrior fighting is a war where you just stay in your own territory. You pop off a few drones here and there, but you're not really causing casualties to the opponent. So they have no other target for their supplies but the local population. And of course, the local population is not gonna be happy when you take supplies from them. Now remember also that there is no activity right now. There's no farming. There's no manufacturing. There's no nothing. They may be manufacturing drones in their ground laboratories and stuff, but that's very small scale, and that will employ at most 100,000 people out of 90 million. So there is maybe 80 to 90 million unemployed people right now. Now remember that remember what happened during COVID. A lot of people had savings for maybe 1 month, maybe two, and that's in a first world country. In places like Iran, where they're already having trouble with their economy, they won't have any money saved up. And it's not like in Gaza where you can guilt the Israelis into letting food in. There's not gonna be any Red Cross, UNRWA, or anything that's gonna give them food. So essentially, the government has to keep them fed, and that's not gonna last a long time. At most maybe 2 to 3 weeks. At which point they have no choice but to rebel. So the entire point I'm making here is that number one, unity is not guaranteed. Number two, even going into guerrilla strikes is not guaranteed, because there's no logistics behind it. You have to have logistics in order to be able to be successful in these things. Now, it's actually a brilliant masterstroke for the U.S. to actually destroy the Iranian economy before before uh, before starting the war. Now, in addition to this, the breaking point says that it's a world war, because China and Russia are helping. So number one, it's always been expected for China and Russia to help with Iranian intelligence. In fact, you may have noticed, but that in places in the time before the war started, China was like printing out the locations of the fleets and stuff like that in their satellites and making it public. That's pretty much to tell the U.S. that we can give your location to the Iranians. And of course, Russia was giving rocket missiles and all that stuff and whatever they can afford, and intelligence as well. So that's expected. It's not something that's out of the ordinary because you'd expect the allies to do that. But more importantly, it's not a world war. Crystal and Sagar have lowered their definition to a world war so much that even intelligence sharing is a world war to them. That's, I mean, like, World War One and World War Two involved world-spanning armies killing each other. The only way for this to devolve into a world war is for U.S. to fight China, and that's it. That's the only way. And the U.S. then China's not gonna fight over Iran. It might be valuable, but China's not yet ready to fight. They need maybe 20 to 30 more years. That means that this cannot evolve into a world war, and the minor intelligence sharing that the allies or the Axis does is not really worth quibbling over. All right, so for all those reasons, oh, and lastly, you also have the threat of Trump now. It's a very late threat. He just made it today, essentially saying that if they continue to block the Straits of Hormuz, he would begin destroying civilian infrastructure, one by one. So that means that when that happens, it's only going to accelerate the hunger and desperation of the populace, leading them to revolt because they want to stop doing that. Now, is it possible for them to turn against the people doing that? Very possible. It's very possible to get them to become angry at the United States. But so what? There's no American soldiers anywhere near them. The only target they have to get this to stop is to go after the government. So it doesn't matter if they get angry, because at the end of the day, they have to take out the government in order to get that to stop. Or the government stops by themselves when they see everything collapsing around them. All right. Well, based on all of that, there's really no way for Iran to survive. In fact, I see a lot of countries, even the Gulf states here, like Qatar or maybe UAE. I actually see them taking some of the islands that currently belong to Iran. There are certain islands in the Gulf states that are tiny, but due to UNCLOS, they actually control a lot of oil. So I see the Gulf states taking those islands, particularly this island here in the Strait of Hormuz. And honestly, I see Iran getting carved up by many different countries. And at the end of the day, um, what will happen is that the name Iran might not even survive. It might be renamed Persia so that the other countries that carved Iran up can get their territorial concessions clean. Similar to USSR and Russia, where the Russia successor state was a lot smaller than USSR. So that's where we see this ending up. There's really no chance for Iran here. The only chance they have is for something to go wrong and China to fight on their behalf. But in reality, China doesn't have force protection. They don't have the. If the U.S. were to invade China, they would fight very well. But the Chinese don't have enough ships to bring their troops from China to here. In which case, the U.S. can just intercept them anyway. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening to my thoughts for today. I will see you tomorrow. Have a good day.